Sometimes, love doesn't arrive the way we expect it to. It comes quietly, through brushstrokes, colors, and a heart that dares to understand another. This is the story of Maya and Arif, a story of two souls bound not by blood, but by the art of compassion. When Maya married Raghav, she knew she wasn't just becoming a wife. She was stepping into the life of a 16-year-old boy who barely spoke to anyone anymore. Arif had lost his mother 3 years ago. Since then, his world had turned gray. His paintings, once full of bright colors, now lived only in shades of black and blue. One evening, soft rain tapping on the windows, Maya placed a bowl of soup near Arif's room. "Hi, Arif," she said gently. "I thought I'd leave some soup by your door. You don't have to eat it if you don't want to." She never forced her presence. She simply showed up, quietly, one day at a time. At dinner, Raghav tried to bridge the silence. "Arif, your art teacher called," he said cautiously. "She said your last piece was brilliant." Arif didn't look up. "It's just paint, Dad." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with grief neither of them knew how to speak about. Maya was an artist herself. Not professional, but she understood how colors could express what words couldn't. One afternoon, while organizing the storeroom, she found an old canvas, half-finished, dark, stormy. It looked like the inside of a wounded heart. She carried it to the living room and placed it in the corner where the sunlight touched every morning. Not as decoration, but as an invitation. Days passed. Arif ignored it, until one evening, when Maya returned home, she noticed something different. Faint brushstrokes added to the canvas. Not hers. Someone had brushed a streak of orange among the gray. She smiled softly. It was small, but for Maya, it was the beginning of a bridge. That night, she left a note beside the canvas. "Orange is hope. I think your mom would have liked that." The next morning, the note was gone. But a new streak appeared, a bright green leaf pushing through the darkness. The colors began to speak before they ever did. A week later, Maya set up her easel in the courtyard. Arif walked by, pretending not to notice. "You can criticize my work if you like," she said with a smile. "I could use an honest artist's opinion." I don't do art anymore," he replied, keeping his distance. "Then just mix the colors for me," she said. "No painting. Promise." He hesitated, but curiosity won. He sat down quietly, dipping his brush into color. The silence between them wasn't heavy anymore. It was comfortable. "You mix colors like a magician," Maya teased. "Or like someone who doesn't like wasting paint," Arif replied with a faint smile. They laughed together, a small sound that made Raghav look up from the window and smile for the first time in months. Days turned into a quiet rhythm. They painted together, shared tea, and sometimes spoke about things that didn't hurt. Then one afternoon, Maya overheard Arif's teacher telling Raghav about a youth art exhibition. Arif had been invited to submit his work but had refused. That night, Maya left a sketchbook outside his door with a single note. "Paint when you're ready. Not for them, for yourself." A few days passed in silence. Then one morning, Maya found the sketchbook on the dining table, filled with breathtaking drawings. Each page told a story of grief, beauty, and courage. She whispered to herself, "You're ready, Arif. More than you think." But life has a way of testing fragile beginnings. When Raghav found out Maya had submitted Arif's work to the exhibition without asking, hoping to surprise him, Arif felt betrayed. "You had no right," he shouted. "You're not my mother." The words cut deep. Maya froze, not from anger, but from heartbreak. She quietly left the room, her eyes glistening. That night, Arif found her sitting in the garden, the moonlight falling softly over her shoulders. "I didn't mean to say that," he murmured, guilt heavy in his voice. "Yes, you did," she said quietly. "And it's okay. You have every right to protect your feelings. But I didn't send your work to take something from you, Arif. I did it because I saw what your mother would have seen. A gift that deserves to be seen." He looked down, his voice trembling. "I just didn't want anyone else to look at it. It was hers." Maya smiled gently. "Then let it be both of yours. Let the world see her through you." A month later, the exhibition opened. The hall was filled with young artists, proud parents, and the scent of new paint. Arif stood by his canvas, the one he had finished with Maya, titled Through the Storm. The judges moved slowly, studying every detail. Maya whispered beside him, "You did it." He smiled faintly. "We did it." Moments later, the applause echoed. Arv's name was called, first place. He walked onto the stage, holding the microphone with trembling hands. "This painting," he said, voice breaking, "it's for my mom, and for someone who reminded me that color doesn't disappear when someone leaves. Sometimes it just finds a new brush to live through." Tears filled Maya's eyes. Raghav wrapped an arm around her shoulders. That moment healed something deeper than words ever could. Days turned into weeks. Their bond grew stronger, not through big gestures, but through shared moments. They painted under sunlight, laughed over spilled colors, fixed brushes together. Raghav would often watch them from the doorway, smiling quietly, grateful for the new warmth that filled their home. One evening, as they painted side by side, Arv spoke softly. "You know, you don't have to replace Mom. You already made space for her and for me." Maya's hands trembled slightly as she looked at him. "Thank you, Arv. That means more than you know." Sometimes healing isn't loud. It's gentle, like color blending on canvas, slowly, beautifully, completely. A year later, their small town decided to paint a community mural, something that represented unity and hope. Arv was chosen to lead the design, and he insisted Maya join him. Together, they spent days painting a breathtaking scene. Two trees rooted side by side, their branches intertwined, reaching toward the same sky. When the mural was completed, people gathered around, admiring the masterpiece. At the base of the mural, in small letters, were the words, "Through paint and love." Ragha's eyes glistened as he said softly, "You too have made something beyond art." Maya smiled. "We just painted what love looks like when it learns to listen." When people talk about families, they often think of bloodlines, of what's inherited. But Maya and Arv's story reminds us that family is not found in names or DNA. It's built with effort, patience, and the courage to stay even when it's hard. Their connection wasn't instant. It was built stroke by stroke, sometimes messy, sometimes uncertain, but always real. Soft piano music swells in the background as the narrator's voice softens. If you ever meet someone who's afraid to love again, remind them of Maya and Arv, two hearts who learned that healing doesn't come in grand gestures. It comes in quiet moments, in a brushstroke, in forgiveness, in the courage to try again. Because love, real love, isn't always about romance. Sometimes, it's simply about seeing someone's broken colors and helping them find their light again. Soft piano fades out, leaving behind the echo of peace and gentle emotion. Through paint and love, an inspiring reminder that every heart, no matter how scarred, can become art.